Hi everyone, welcome to the SoapUI learning session 1. So in this tutorial we'll be discussing about introduction of the web services and we'll see the different aspects of it like SOAP and REST protocol. Okay, and we'll get started with the SoapUI. So let's get started for the agenda of today. So today I'll be discussing about what is web services, following how and why should you use the web services, then SOAP versus REST protocol, and the WSDL file versus WADL files, and the different HTTP status codes representations, and then the SoapUI. So first and foremost what is web services. So I would like to give you one example. Uh, Suppose nowadays we are seeing that we are having GoIBO, Make My Trip, the different applications available. Okay, so from this application we can utilize to book our flight, right? So in the Make My Trip we are having like different flight options like Indigo, Air India, SpiceJet. Okay, but if you don't want to book Indigo, yes, SpiceJet flight from Make My Trip, we also have that options to book it from directly from their website. Like we are having a dedicated Indigo website, a SpiceJet website, where we can also book this flight, right? And we can also book the same flight in the Make My Trip GoIBO homepage. So what's this basically doing? GoIBO homepage, GoIBO Make My Trip, whatever this application is basically interacting with the Indigo SpiceJet applications. So whatever the information is getting displayed at their parent site like Indigo site, SpiceJet site, this is the same information we are getting displayed in the Make My Trip site. Yeah, we can say the GoIBO site. Okay, so various platforms collaboratively together we can access from a single platform. So there here the terms comes web services. So the Make My Trip or GoIBO, it's using the web services API of this different sites, and through this we can utilize the several platform in a single platform, in a single applications. So that is why it comes a picture of web services. So let me tell you what is web services. So if we unzip the definition in a simple way, it's basically a simple XML based information exchange system. Okay, so which uses internet for direct interactions between applications. So just the example I have given. So it's a simple internet based protocol, internet based information access system basically, and while we're using the XML based information exchange, while we're sending the request and we're getting the response from the server. Okay, so this is the way we can interact with between the different applications. Then the major part come, why should you use web services, but before that I would like you to tell what is the component of the web services. Okay, so the component of web services basically are three components there. One is SOAP. This stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Another one is important UDDI, that stands for Universal Descriptions and Discovery and Integrations. And next one is WSDL, Web Service Description Language. So let me give you a basic idea what is SOAP. SOAP is basically XML based protocol for exchange informations between different applications or computers. We can say it's a communication protocol, and SOAP is a format for sending messages. Okay, it's a format. Obviously, it's designed to communicate via internet, and its platform and language both independent. It's simple and extensible, and it's WC standard. So SOAP is XML protocol. Now we will see that what is UDDI. Okay, as the name suggests, it stands for Universal Descriptions, Discovery and Integrations. So UDDI is a specification for distributed registry of web services. Okay, it's a platform independent and open framework, and this UDDI uses the WSDL that will come later to describe the interface to the web services. Okay, so it is basically used to describe the interface of web services, and it is seen with the SOAP as well as the WSDL as one of the three foundation services of the SOAP services. This is one of the main part of a SOAP of a web service. Okay, so it's a collaborative work together with SOAP and WSDL, and one of the main foundation of the web services. And it's an open industry initiative enabling business to discover each other and define how they interact over the internet. Okay. The next important thing is WSDL. What is that? So WSDL, as the name suggests, we can see this is also XML based language for describing. It's a language for describing web services and how we can access the web services. Okay, it is developed by jointly by Microsoft and IBM. It's an XML-based protocol for information exchange in decentralized and distributed environment. Okay. So WS is the standard format of describing web services. So it's basically allow us to know the availability of web services. Okay. It's a language, you can say, for describing how to interface with XML-based services, and it is one of the integral part of the URI that I just have told. An XML-based worldwide business registry, that is the URI. WS is just language that URI uses, and WSDL is just pronounced WSDL. Okay, WSDL, simply this way. So this is a simple standard format of describing the web services or fetching the availability of the web services. Or in case UDI, we can say UDI stands UDI is specification of distributed registry. UDI is a specification of distributed registry of web services, platform independent open framework, and which is described to interface to the web services. And SOAP, we can say this is XML based protocol for exchange information. Okay, so how web service work? So web services, it enables communication between the various applications by using HTML, XML, and WSDL and SOAP. So there is total three steps that how the web service work. First, it uses the XML for tagging the data. So whatever the data I want to fetch or whatever the data I want to send, it first uses the XML for tagging the data. Then we'll send transfer it via the SOAP, Simple Object Access Protocol. We'll transfer it using the SOAP, and then WSDL file, WSDL to get the availability of services. Okay, so this three way. First we will be tagging the data, then we'll be transferring it using the SOAP, and then we using the WSDL to get the availability of the services. So these way the web services basically works. And why we need the web services? The main four reason that we need web services. First is availability of existing function on network. So availability of existing function is simply, like a web service is a unit of managed code that can remotely invoke using HTTP, right? That is, it can be activated using the HTTP request. So web service allow you basically to expose the functionality of your existing code over the internet. So whatever the code you've written for your functionality, it will allow you to expose the code over the internet. So once it is exposed, the other applications can also use the code, also use the functionality. So utilizing the web services, we can expose our existing function on the network to make it available for the other applications. This is one of the main part we will be. That's why we use the web service. Another, the most important thing is interoperability. Interoperability means like in web services we can there is maybe different applications that is made of different languages can communicate to each other and share data in between them. Okay, so like one application is built on C++ can communicate with the application built on Java. Yeah, one application built on .NET can communicate with the application built on VB. So it's totally platform agnostic. It's don't depend on the platform. So whatever the platform is built using which language, I don't need it. I don't care. So using the web services, both the applications would be able to communicate with each other. Okay. So this is the main term interoperability. Next comes the standardized protocol. The web services uses the standardized industry standards protocol for the communications. All the four layers, that is the service layer, transport layer, XML messaging, and service description and service discovery layers, use the well-defined protocol in the web services protocol stack. So that standardization of protocol stack gives the business many advantages like wide range of choices, reduction of the cost due to competitions, and increase in the quality. So that is why we'll be utilizing the web services. Okay. And last but not the least, this is the low communication cost. This is one of the important reasons that is why should use the web services. So web services uses basically the SOAP over the HTTP protocol for communicating between the different applications, so that we can send our existing so then we can send use our existing low cost internet for implementing web services. And apart from the web services, we are already having other solutions like EDI, B2B, bank to business to business. So those we can also utilize, but those are a little bit costly. So besides SOAP, over HTTP, web service can also be implemented on other reliable transport like mechanism like FTP. So the communication cost between the application between two different applications. It is marginally lower than the if we switch to the other solution like EDI or B2B. Okay. So this four reason: availability of existing function on the network, interoperability the main concern, the standardized protocol that is used, and the low communication costs. This is why we should use the web services. Okay. And the next important part is SOAP versus REST. Okay. SOAP versus REST is the most common term, yeah, most common debate currently now going these days. So this is, I mean, SOAP versus REST. This is the two web services format. SOAP is stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. This is a protocol, and REST-based web services basically depends on the HTTP. Okay. So the simple difference is that SOAP is Simple Object-Based Protocol, and it sends the request and fetches the response only in the XML format. So whatever the request you will be sending for SOAP based project, you'll be only sending using the XML format. There is no other format is given. And by default, SOAP uses the web service security feature, so we can say it is comparatively more secure than the REST. And REST basically it called the representational state transfer. Okay, here the term URI comes. URI stands for uniform resource identifier. So for a web application, each and every object is can be represented as a unique URI. When you click on that particular object, a button, it's redirecting it to some particular URI, and you will it will fetch you the data from the server. Okay, so it's uh, totally restless, and we will be utilizing the HTTP get, post, put, delete, all this kind of method to fetch the response. Apart from XML, we can also use the JSON response or the HTML format response. Okay, and the form fit also we can do, and we will check it later. The important part that REST is totally stateless, and it is more lightweight than the SOAP. And the thing is, it's important that it is not a protocol that like SOAP is a protocol. It's a simple object access protocol, but REST, it is not a protocol. Rather, it's, you can say it's the architectural style. And telling about the what is URI, let me show you an example. So URI, we can, the full form is Uniform Resource Identifier. This is the main thing of identifying resources. Okay, it identifying a documents, a resource using a short string of numbers, letters, and symbols. So URI basically there are two types: URL and URN. So URL, we already know what is URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, and U1 stands for Uniform Resource Name. So these two example, that https www.facebook.com/profile, the URL that I've given, yeah, for ftp example.com download.zip. So this is the two URL that we can say. So we can see, I mean, if you use the URL, it can be accessed over the internet, over some network. Okay, and this is how we can access the resources of some particular access some particular resources over the internet. Okay, and if we go with the URN, so URN, if you go with the URN, stands for Uniform Resource Name. So first and foremost part is that you have to mention the URN name before that you mentions. So this is the example is URN, like URN colon ISBN colon 0451405053. So this is the URN to identify a book by its ISBN number. Or sometimes you have seen that URN colon telephone number has been given. So it is identify a telephone number for this particular URN. Okay. So if you are using URN, you have to give this tag as a mandatory tag, and you have to mention this tag as a mandatory tag, and then colon, then whatever the, like for URN session, and this is the session ID, particular session ID. So it is to identify session. So URL and URN difference is, we can see that URL will be accessing over the HTTP, yeah, network, and for URN we will be accessing using the URN name. Okay. So the next important is that WSDL file and WADL file. So why this is two files is important, that I told you earlier guys, why this is two file we need it. That WSDL file is an XML based language for describing web services and how to access them. It basically describes the availability of the web services. Okay, so it stands. It's a XML-based protocol for information exchange and decentralized and distributed environment for WSDL files. So if you are using SOAP-based project, so you will be utilizing the WSDL file. You have to provide the WSDL file where all this has been, all your SOAP request operation has been located. So you have to provide the WSDL file to start with the SOAP-based project. Okay. And WSDL file, it's only applicable for the REST based web services. It's not mandatory to use the REST for REST based web services, but if you're testing on a large and complex enterprise systems, so it's better to have some defined contract, right? So in that case we will be using the some defined contract as a WADL file, web application description language. Okay, so coming to the WSDL file, the different components of it. What are the different components? There is so many different 10 more than 10 or 11 components are there, so I am coming to the major elements that is important. First one is the definitions. So the definition is the root of the WSDL file. It defines the namespace and the web services that I'm gonna access. Okay, data types. Next, data type is basically the different types of the data that I will be using in the XML schema. Okay, message is the body portion. Basically we can say is the abstract definition of data. Binding is the, we can say, is the concrete protocol and the data format for the operations of the message that I'm doing. So binding is containing the different set of operations. Okay, so operations like get operations and inside for SOAP protocol, like give you an example. If you want to fetch some currency data for a country, if you want to country code for a country, so all that operations, get currency code by country, get currency data by country, all these kind of operations are listed inside a binding, comes under the binding. Okay, so the abstract definition of the operation for a message or method, this is called operations. Okay, port. Port is a combination of binding and the network access, providing a target address. Okay, so port basically we're using to provide the target address. And service is a collection of related endpoints, provide the service definitions in the file. Okay, the one more thing I would like to tell you, that binding, there is different type: HTTP GET, POST, and for SOAP we'll be using SOAP binding. Okay, SOAP binding will be having some targeted endpoint that will be targeting, and where all our operation is will be targeted to that particular endpoint. Okay, so when we will cover this in my next tutorial, I'll be seeing details more. I mean, we'll be seeing more about it, how one SOAP response we can say, and we can face the response, and what is the binding, different aspect of this, what is the message. Okay, and WDL files that I just told, that it stands for Web Application Description Language. So it's basically for REST-based web services. Okay, just like WSDL file is for SOAP, so WDL file will be used for REST-based web services. And the main purpose is to define a context. So suppose you are developing one applications, REST-based applications, REST-based web services from the scratch. You don't need it WADL file, and if you want to integrate with some other applications that have good development support, still you don't need the WADL file. But in some cases, support you want to integrate with some applications, some legacy applications that you are not aware of. Okay, who is the developer, you are not able to connect to them. Suppose take it as example for a huge enterprise system. This is bit huge complex system you want to integrate, and you don't have any clue how to integrate with the other system, other applications. Okay, in that case, like one enterprise system, complex system is trying to integrate with another enterprise complex system, so it's better to have some contact between them. Okay, so in that case the WDL files comes, WDL terms we'll be using for this kind of REST-based web services. Okay, so it's not mandatory to use that, but it's a good practice if you use that for your testing with the large and huge complex enterprise systems, application interactions. Okay, just remember this way, like WSDL file will be using for SOAP and WDL file will be using for REST-based protocol. So following the next tutorial, I'll be seeing details about it, how we can implement it, what's the WSDL file, and we'll be doing our testing on the web services. Now the next important part is that HTTP status code. So guys, if you are sending some HTTP status code via the SOAP, via the REST, you will be getting some response, right? Response, if you are sending wrong request, you will be getting wrong response. And if you are sending actual request, you are submitting something, you're fetching something, it should display some status code that it has been okay or not, it is in client side error or server side error or not. So those, all these things can be comes under the HTTP status code representation. So let me just take you to Google and let me search it, what is different types of status code. Sorry. So I mean, when you are sending some request, we are expecting some response. So with the response, I will also get the HTTP status code. So this is from the wiki. We can see that there are several types of status code we will get normally. So if the status code is started with one XX, it's basically for informational responses. Okay, if the request started with 2 and so this category like 2XX, it's called success. And if the status code started with 3, it's basically redirection. And if it started with 4, that we have normally get so many times 404 error or something, right? So it's basically the client side error. And if it's starting with 5, then will the this is called the server error. So let's get to the details. Like if you get the status code as 100, so it is basically telling you it's to continue. Okay, 101, it is telling you to switching the protocols. 102 for processing. Success, this is one of the most important term. 200, okay. For most of the cases I'll be expecting 200, okay, this is the success response. Okay, so 200 is for okay, 201 for post response, 201 for created, 202 when you will submit some response and it is accepted, you will get 202, that is accepted. And non-product informations, we will get 203. There is no content you have submitted, but there is no content, so you will get 204. If you want to reset content by clicking some button, yeah, sending some by sending some request, so you will get 205 as a response. For partial content, 206. And for multi-status, 207. Following 208 you will get for already reported, and 226 for I am used. 3x redirections. So example, like if you give an URL as a www.gmail.com, if you type on that, like simply it should redirect, right? www.gmail.com. See, I mean, it's redirecting to the accounts at google.com, right? Let me show you one thing. F5 www.gmail.com. See, here we are getting a response 200 as okay. This is the okay response, successful response. Hmm. So this is a successful response. If you just click on the particular uh, we'll see status code is given as a 200. Okay, so this is coming from the server. Okay, but not able to show you the example currently. But if you are accessing some URL, I'm clicking on that URL, it's redirecting to some separate URL. Suppose I'm clicking on here, and it redirecting me to some particular URL. So for redirection scenario, we'll get status code as a 3xx starting with 301 is moved permanently, 302 is not found, 303 is 3 other, 300 for multiple choices. You have a different set of URL that you can navigate, multiple options. 304 is not modified, 305 use proxy. 306 for switch proxy, temporary redirect for 307, and permanent redirect for 308. So all these kind of things you will get if you're sending some request over your SOAP protocol or REST protocol, and it is switching to some different URL. Okay, 40. So HTTP status code started with the 4 is basically the client errors. Uh, so most of the time you have seen that unauthorized 401, 404 error not found. Okay, so bad request. If you are sending some bad request, that wrong credential and some attachment that is too large, so you will get request as a 400 bad request. Unauthorized, if you are not authorized trying to access some page, you will get the unauthorized access 401. Payment required for you will get for 402. 403 for forbidden, the request was valid but the server is refusing the action. So in that case, server is refusing the client actions, then you will get the 403 is the forbidden access. 404, the request resource could not be found or may be available in future. So it is not currently available, so you will get the 404 not found. This is the most common term. And 405, that method not allowed. 406 for not acceptable. 407 proxy authentication record following the 408 for request timeout will get. So there are so many client side error listed with the 4 XX format. So you can just go through it and you can get the details. And the important part is the 4XX stands for client side error, and the code started with the 5XX format, started with 5, or the in that format 5XX format. It's basically like server side error. Server side error, like internal server error, if you get, it will give you a code that HTTPS was a 500. If it is not implemented, you will get 501. Bad gateway for you will get 502. Service unavailable. This is what we fetched mostly, right? 503. This is for service unavailable. 504 for gateway timeout. 505 HTTP versions not supported. 506, 507, 508. So those things we will get. Okay, for server error. So let me just summarize. Whatever the HTTP status code you will get, 1x will be the information, 1x format will be for informational responses. Status code starting with the 2 and 2xx format is for success. 3 starting with 3 is for redirection scenario. Status code started is 4 and 4xx format is basically the client side errors, and status code started with 5, it's for server side errors. Okay. So this is the way we can utilize our HTTP status code. Like show you one example, like um, so I'm trying to access all the football players name from this particular endpoint that I've given. Okay, just if I send the request, I should this is XML based request of the SOAP. If I click hit on the submit request, I should get the response. It will take some time. Let's just do it. It should not take more than 10 seconds. Why it's taking so much time? Let me just send it again. Okay, so I'm getting the response successfully. Okay, if I see the if I see the XML raw request or the header that is provided with the response, we can see the status given HTTP 1.1 to 100. Okay, status header. Or if you see the raw request, it's coming as a 200. Okay, so it's successfully we are able to fetch the details. So this way, when you will be submitting anything over the SOAP, yeah, over the REST, you will get this response. Okay, so that is why it the this HTTP code representation comes into the picture. So okay, so guys, that's all for today. So as of now, we have discussed what we have seen, that what is web services and why should we use the web services, and what is the SOAP and REST in web services, and what is the WSDL file and WADL files, or why we need it, and following the HTTP status code representations, and following SoapUI. SoapUI, one is the important. What is SoapUI? SoapUI, if you just search in Google, what is SOAP? SoapUI. So we'll get ample tutorials on this. So SoapUI, we can say it's a basically open source web service testing applications. So the open source applications now it is comes with two versions. Like one is free version, one is license version. So it's basically the web service testing application for service oriented architecture, SO architecture. Okay, and SOAP protocol is comes around this service oriented architecture. And another important this is also we can test REST based web services, representational state transfer, REST based web services. We can also test utilizing a SOAP UI. So the SOAP UI functionality covers web service inspections, invoking, development, simulations, and testing. Also, you can do the load and compliance and security testing. So this is why we should be using the SOAP UI. For my case, I'm going to show you utilize how we can use the SoapUI. I'm using SoapUI version 5.2.1 and I'll be showing you the details how to set up following test suite, test case creations, and then property transfer using property data driven approach, everything in my next continuation of this tutorial. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. About the introduction part of the web services of SOAP and REST based protocol, SOAP based protocol and REST based web services. So following in the next tutorial, we'll see more. Okay, so thanks all for today. Thank you for watching.